In this video, I will show you buffering using the Processing Toolbox in QGIS. Load your exercise data. I'm just going to move countries to below urban areas so it makes more cartographic sense. And I'm going to zoom in on the layer to Gauteng because we want to work on OR Tambo. I'm going to use the identify function just to check that this is in fact OR Tambo International Airport, and that is correct. I'm then just going to select the airport. The method for selecting the point I've just shown you is useful if there are few points or few data fields and you have a good idea of where things are or what you're looking at. If there is a large data set and you aren't sure of where the data point is, there are other methods by which to find the data. So for example, one of the methods is to open the attribute table, and in the attribute table you can see that this has few data fields. So you could pick the correct airport here. You can see the second one is OR Tambo. You could select that there, and then if you minimize the attribute table you will see that it is selected on your map. Going to unselect that. So that's one of the options. So another way to select features is you could select a feature by expression. And that is quite useful because once you're in the expression builder, you can come here to fields and values. You can choose the field from which you want the data, so we would like it by name because we know that the name of the airport is Oliver Tambo or OR Tambo. Double click on name and it will insert the field name into the expression builder. Then click on the equals sign or alternatively type equals in. Then you can click here on all unique, and this will bring up a list of all the unique data within that field chosen, and from there you can choose OR Tambo, double click on it, and that will add it into your expression builder, and then click close, and you will see that your point has been selected using the expression builder. Close the identify panel and open the processing toolbox. In the Processing Toolbox, search for the Buffer tool. Double-click and open the tool. We would like to buffer the airport, the selected airport, so I'm going to check selected features only and make sure that this is the correct layer. Next, I'd like to have a 50 kilometer buffer. In terms of segments, you can use the default of 5, but I'm going to up the segments to 10 just because we're quite zoomed in, so the little segments of the round buffer will be quite evident. And I'm going to leave the rest as their default. If you go down, I'm going to check dissolve result, even though we're just making one buffer. It's not necessary, but I'm going to run the tool. Close the buffer tool and you will see that your buffer has generated on the map. I'm going to drag that to be below the point. Now I'm just going to quickly symbolize the point so it makes a little bit more sense. I'm going to open the layer styling panel and I'm going to choose a white dot as the point. I'm going to zoom in again. And I'm going to unselect so that we can see that that is correct. Now, next I'd like to make an intersection between the buffer and the urban areas layer. So in your processing toolbox that is already open, search for the intersection tool. As our input layer, we would like the urban areas. And as the overlay, we would like the buffer that we have just created. I'm going to leave the rest as the defaults and run the tool. Close the tool. and you will see that a layer called intersection, which are all the urban areas within the buffer, has been created. Now, this doesn't look fantastic, so I'm just going to quickly change the symbols, the symbology of the different layers. I'm going to make the country below white for now, and I'm going to make the urban areas outside of the buffer area green in color. I'm going to make the buffer, I'm going to give it a thick red outline. I'm going to move the intersection to be below the buffer. The intersection I would like to be red in color. I'm going to go to the standard colors here and scroll down until I find a decent red, and I'm happy with that. Next, I'd like to work on the labels. So first I would like to label OR Tambo. So activate the layer, open the labels, let's choose a single label and just give it a buffer so it stands out against the background. Let's make it size 14 and make that it is offset from the point. Make it offset to the right and make it not overlap the point by giving it 4 millimeters on the x-axis. I'm happy with that. That's legible. Next, I would like to add a label for the buffered area for the buffer. So I'm going to go with a single label, and I'm going to open the expression dialog box, and I'm going to build this expression. You can either type it in or copy and paste it from your exercise folder, but this $size area will give us the area for the buffer. So I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to manipulate the label so it makes more sense and that it matches the other label that I've made. Make it size 14, I'm going to give it a buffer, and I'm going to actually manually move this label. So I'm going to go into the Move Labels on Diagram, I'm going to click on the label and say OK, and move it just below the airport to show the area. Fantastic. Now, if you'd like to see, because this is actually currently in hectares, if you would like to change that to meters squared, you can go into the properties, and you can see here under general settings what the units of measurement are. So the distance is in meters, but the area is in hectares. We can change that to square meters. If we say apply and say OK and just refresh the layers, you can see that that is then a much larger number because it's in square meters.